Hello YouTube and welcome back to another episode of g.i.b Gaming. This is Devin here with another another Warframe video. This one was a request brought to me on Warframe itself. Some of the people who have actually seen my channel had asked me about it, had joined up with me, sent me an invite, and I was playing as Nidus and they kept asking me what my build was and how I was running them and how I improved the survivability and everything. And so I went ahead and explained it to them in game, and then I figure if they're asking that question, somebody else might be asking the same questions. So I figure I'd go ahead and make this video and throw this one out there for anybody who likes Nidus, likes the idea of Nidus, but hadn't quite figured out that right blend with him. And maybe this can give you a starting point. You can kind of go with my build and then go from there to kind of tailor more to your play style. This is going to be, like I said, kind of a generic walkthrough. I'll give you a couple different options that I like doing with him, and we can go from there. So let's go ahead and run right on into the setup. Jump over to Arsenal. You'll notice I'm using my Telos Akbolto and my Skiajati sacrificial sword. You'll notice I've also got my Kavat. This helps a lot with my builds to have my Kavat or Kubro here with me. In this case, it is going to be my Kavat Jinxie Cat here. We're going to jump into Nidus. Now, the color scheme, of course, is unimportant. Your regalia, you're going to want to set up to where it's showing whatever your max percentage is for whatever syndicate you're running. Then on the front, I just kind of threw the Rift mod up there from the last event just because I thought it looked cool. It added a little bit of flair to him, and it went really well with his whole body style. So we're going to jump into here real quick. As I've said with other videos that I've put out there with my builds, I always try to start off with my aura, because this is going to give me my total mod capacity and really let me figure out where I am and what I can actually do with it. With his polarity here, the V, I believe that's Vazarin, Matter I apologize. I've only got two that are really leveled up that I could put there. One's going to be the rifle lamp, which increases all rifle damage by 27%, and that affects not only myself but also anybody in my squad that is within 10 affinity range. My other one's going to be steel charge here. As you notice, rifle lamp only does 7, which is pretty much all of the aura mods are going to be maxed out at 7, whereas steel charge is the only one that I know of off the top of my head that actually goes to 9. So it's going to give me 18 extra, plus I like doing a lot of melee damage with Nidus. So this is definitely one that I chose to go with. You will notice up here that I've actually dropped 2 Forma into him. I just want to make that obvious. This is not a 0 Forma build like my Titania build that I put out last time, but the mod capacity wasn't all the way there, and it's just something that in order to get the blend I wanted, I definitely wanted that in there. So survivability is always one of the first things that I try and go for with any build. So vitality is a must. And if you notice, he has no shields. Nidus has no shields, and this is one of the things that makes him a little bit detrimental in people's eyes. So one of the things I like to do is crank up that armor. Since I don't have shields, I want to build up his armor so that they can eliminate as much damage as possible. So I am 2 away from max on this. I haven't completely maxed it out yet. I'm still working on that. And this 720 armor will go up significantly with those other 2 points. Go ahead and move this over just for looks, really. It doesn't matter as long as they all go in there. Next thing I want to do, Nidus's abilities. If we back out 1 second, we can take a look at his abilities. You'll notice damage increase, explosion radius, maggot rupture damage. So all these are really going to go off of power damage. So of course intensify is going to have to go on there. And I've actually grown really accustomed to blind range. That cranks up his damage so much right here, and it does, you know, give a hit to efficiency. So even though it's not going to completely nullify it, I do want to go ahead and throw streamline in here just so it kind of balances out a little bit. So it's only at a negative 15 or 85% total, rather than being the 55 that it was when it was off. And then the next step, Hunter's Adrenaline. Since he has no shields, he's going to be taking damage constantly. Hunter's Adrenaline was kind of a must for me. It's something I definitely wanted in there to help build up his energy. Since he's going to be taking all that damage anyways, might as well, you know, kind of get something out of it. And if we're going to be constantly building up his energy, why not go ahead and throw in a flow mod, kind of give him a larger energy pool. That's going to crank me up to 375 energy over here, you'll notice. That's going to give me a rather large energy pool, and no. Sorry about that. So you'll notice that only whenever you look over here at the energy cost, Virulence, which is his first one, is going to jump up to 46 after those mods, and Larva is going to jump up to 29. However, if you look over here at Parasitic Link and down here at Ravenous, you'll notice they don't cost energy. So you're really not going to be burning through that much energy. You will be just to kind of get your stacks up. But after that, the other two are going to be running off your stacks. So that's not something you're going to need a whole lot of. So you're not going to have to worry about it too much. And because of Virulence and Larva and Ravenous and the Parasitic Link, I feel like Stretch is a must as well. This is going to give you range on all of your, and I do mean all of your abilities. This is going to boost this up. And it's going to allow your Virulence to extend further so you can get more hits off a single run. And the same thing with your Ravenous. Your Parasitic Link, you're going to be able to travel further from your host and still maintain your link, because if you get too far away, that link will sever and you won't be getting the effects of it anymore. And then there's also Larva, which it can extend its tendrils out and further to grab enemies and draw them in. Now you'll notice right here, I've still got 6 points, and that's because I do plan on maxing out the Blind Rage. I do plan on maxing out the Fiber here and the Prime Flow. That's going to use up 4, so I'll have 2 left over. But there's nothing really in this Exilus slot that I would want to use. Even at this point, I could only throw in a 6, even if I didn't level anything else up. But there's nothing in my Exilus slots that I really feel like he needs. Maybe I could throw in a Coaction Drift to amp up that Steel Charge a little bit more. Maybe I could throw in a Speed Drift, throw up to increase my speed and my casting speed. But I don't feel like those are really necessary. I've also got Stealth here, Enemy Radar. You'll see why I don't need that. My Kavat takes care of that, so that's not necessary. Ice Spring, Toxic Flight, these are, and even my Firewalker here, these are kind of fun to play around with depending on what enemies you're fighting. If you're fighting the Infested, Firewalker works great. Toxic Flight works great against fleshy enemies. Excuse me, I'm having a little bit of an allergy issue today. I've got Ice Spring over here, which works really good against shielded enemies, or not shielded, like the Ferrite armor enemies, like the Grenier. So you can kind of play around with those, throwing them in the Exilus slots kind of to max out your capacity. It's just not something that I feel is necessary for this build. Like I said, I do plan on maxing out my Prime Flow, which is going to crank it up another 1, so that'll leave it at 5. Steel Fiber, I can crank it up 2 more. That's going to leave it at 3. And blind rage, same, is going to go up 1 more with the polarity decrease. So that's going to leave me at 2. So I really don't feel like there's anything I really need to do, and I really don't feel like wasting an Exilus, because I do have an Exilus mod up here, or adapter that I could throw in here. I just don't feel like it's necessary for Nidus, like I said probably a dozen times in the last 2 minutes. So with all my mods on here, you take a look. My armor's going to be 720. That's really, really good. My energy is going to be 375. Health is 1,110. Shield is, of course, 0. He does not get shields, like I said. Sprint speed is 1, so he's fairly quick. Not the fastest Warframe, but he is fairly quick. Duration is at 100%, so you could play around with it, maybe throw in a continuity in there or something like that. Efficiency, if you wanted to throw in, I believe it's narrow-minded is the other one. Yes, this does duration, not efficiency. I apologize. Maybe it's fleeting expertise. This will crank up your damage, but it will shorten your range, so that's something you might consider. What's the other efficiency? Fleeting expertise? Yes, fleeting expertise is the other one, but again, it does take away 60% of your duration. So you might consider something to counterbalance that so that your Ravenous can stay out as long as possible. Then range is at 145 thanks to that lovely maxed out stretch. And strength, my power strength is at 226. I have noticed that with this power, there are a couple I could add to throw in some extra damage. But with this power, I'm actually able to kill anything that's not extremely heavily armored. So the heavy gunners, the toxic ancients, the corrupted, stuff like that, I can kill with 1 hit. Anything else, I'll usually just toss 1 at them and kill everything that's weakened, and then I'll take them out with my weapons, whatever's left standing. Speaking of weapons, your primary here can be absolutely whatever you want it to be. Whether you like shotguns, sniper rifles, I've actually been using him to level up my Lanka here recently. You can also use, whatever assault rifle you like to use. But this one's going to be completely up to you. Like I said, it is preferential choice. These are just my preferences. And like I said, I use this setup to level up primary weapons mostly. So we're going to go with my Telos Akbolto here. The Telos Akbolto is a syndicate weapon that you get from the Arbiters of Hexus. It is an akimbo style pistol that does semi-automatic, so it fires 1 every time you hit the button. So if you've got a fast trigger finger, you can make this fire as fast as a fully automatic. If you just want to do 1 bullet, you just hit it once, and a lot of things you will kill with this with just 1 bullet. So we're going to jump on into it. Now, as I've told you in previous videos, I always like to look at these polarities that I have in here. You'll notice I've formatted it once. I'll take these polarities, and those are usually the first ones I'll fill up. So I'm going to start with the Vazrin here. As you notice, I've only got 1 that's maxed out, so it's obvious which one's going in there. Then I'll jump over here to the Matarai. This is another one that I really like to use a lot. And what could be better than a little Hornet Strike here? Now I could put Barrel Diffusion in there. It's going to take 6 instead of 5. So it's not going to change the amount that's actually taken out for these. So it doesn't matter which one you put in there, because right here it's going to take up 10. Right here it's going to take up 6. If you swap them, that makes a total of 16 points. If you swap them, you got 5 and 11. So it's going to do the same thing. The only reason I put Hornet Strike up here is because when I max it out, it's going to be a lot more than 10. And so it's going to need that reduction in there. So next is going to be the Naramon here. And the Naramon, I want to put pathogen rounds here. You'll notice with pathogen rounds and deep freeze in here is automatically going to throw in the viral here. This is one of my favorite things I like to do. Along with the puncture, it's going to puncture straight through armored units. And I've got a right now I've got a 52.9 status chance. So in order to crank up that status chance, I want to hop over here and I want to get these 60/60 mods in here to go ahead and crank that up. I'm going to put this one here so that these are right beside each other and they will interact with one another, and I don't have to worry about anything in the middle messing with that setup. This toxic chance is going to wash into the viral. It's also going to amp these up, and then as you see, the status chance boosted that up quite a bit. Now if I'm going to throw in the toxic, I want to go ahead and throw in the ice while I'm at it and throw the frostbite in there. Again, you'll notice that status chance bumps up from 74 to 89. That's a huge increase. It's almost 90% guaranteed. So if you're unloading it rather quickly, you're almost guaranteed to get at least one proc. Usually more than that. Next, I want to go ahead and throw something else in here to help me out. I really like this one. This one is really preferential choice. Ice Storm here. I throw this in. It gives me that extra magazine capacity, so I don't have to reload so often. Magazine size is going to go from 30 up to 42. You can see it right over here. It just jumped up after I put that in there. And I've also got this cold damage here that's going to wash into that viral as well. And now I'm doing a lot of viral damage with just one shot. Now, if you're like me, you're going to be burning through this ammo rather quickly. You're going to be firing it really quickly into these enemies, and so there's something I like to add in here. And again, this one is also preferential choice. It's not a must-have like the others are. With pistol ammo and Ice Storm, these are personal choice. This is something you can do personally, or you can swap them out and you're not going to affect anything other than, you know, you're not going to be able to get as much ammo, and you're going to run out faster, and you're going to want those whenever you see the gameplay, and I'll show you that here in a minute. The Ice Storm, you're going to get that extra viral, you're going to get that extra magazine capacity, and it's really going to help you out as well. Also, I would mention that if you're trying to crack some pistol ribbons, the Ice Storm here is the first one I would suggest taking out. Second would be the pistol ammo here. And this is going to be my Akbolto build for you guys. Now the Skiajati. Again, this weapon itself is personal preference, so please don't say you think you have to have this. If you haven't beaten the sacrifice quest and gotten this, then you can do it with any weapon you want. So just like with the frame builds, you want to start with the aura. On the weapons, you want to start with your stance mod. I'm going to be throwing Tranquil Cleave into here. Tranquil Cleave and Blind Justice, these both run for Nakanas, and you can do either one. I personally prefer the fighting style that comes along with the Tranquil Cleave versus the Blind Justice. The Blind Justice has a reverse grip, and it's really unique and it's fun to watch, but I do feel like Tranquil Cleave is the better stance between the two. So this is the only weapon that can receive this particular polarity. So it kind of seems like a waste for you not to go ahead and throw these in there. And you can put them in either position, it doesn't matter. It's not going to affect anything other than where they sit. These are ones that I'm looking at leveling up, so just remember that will take up some of the extra capacity here shortly. Next, I do have this symbol right here, the Bazarin, and this one's got a high status proc chance with the build. and you're going to be getting impacts, you're going to be getting punctures, you're going to be getting slash. It's typically going to be the slash that you're going to be hitting with the most, but I want to throw healing return on you. This is just another step towards that survivability I was talking about earlier. It helps you get your health back so you can stay alive and kill the enemies longer. So after this, we have to really kind of focus in on what we want to do with it. You'll notice that right now the crit chance with the sacrificial steel here is plus 60% crit chance, and it takes it from 15 to 24%. The status chance is base at 27%, so this is something you really want to look at anytime you're modding up any weapon whatsoever. It's not necessarily something that every build will work for every weapon. If you like going for crits, you want to find weapons with high crit chance. If you like going with status builds, you're going to want to find weapons that have high status chance. If you find a weapon you really like whenever you're going through your leveling scenario, trying to get that affinity, trying to get that mastery rank, you might find weapons that you really like and they've got an even level on both of them, so you don't know which way to go with that. That tends to come out to be what's called a hybrid build, and I can actually show you one of those here shortly on one of the different configurations. But we're going to, for me, I like radiation whenever it comes to my weapons, my melee weapons. If I'm that close, I want to hit them with that status proc, and that's going to kind of keep them from attacking me so much, and whatever enemy has that status proc, the other enemies are going to be attacking him, so it really helps with a little bit of crowd control so you're not getting swarmed so bad. So I'm going to be throwing in both of these. This is going to give me my radiation proc, and it's going to start me off at 241.2 radiation damage, but that right there did not affect my status chance here. So I want to go ahead and hop over here to the Matter Eye and get the corresponding 60/60 mods that are going to, excuse me, again, go ahead and kick that status chance up to basically just under 60%. And that's going to give you those status procs that you're looking for. The attack speed is 1.17, which is really fast when it comes to these weapons. So it's something you definitely want to be looking at as well, because you're going to be getting these attacks off fairly quickly, which means you're going to be getting those status procs really quickly, and the more you get those status procs, the more health you're going to get from healing return here. Healing return is another one that I'm looking at maxing out. I've got a lot of mods that are that way, and I just don't have all the stuff I need for that. So I want to go ahead and search, and I'm going to put status in here, and this is going to bring up anything that has the word status in it. Make sure you don't put any spaces afterwards or it won't give you anything. But I've got condition overload, which gives you extra melee damage for each status effect. That would be really useful putting into this build, because you're going to be getting those status procs and you're going to be doing more damage per hit. You've got your relentless combination, which it keeps your combo counter up while you've got slash damage done to them. You've got your melee prowess. You can throw this in there, and that's going to crank up your status chance to 63.5. So basically 64, averaging out to right around every 3 hits, you're going to get at least 2 procs. It's around that area. You don't necessarily have to do that if you don't want to. You've got your Vicious Frost, but if you throw this in there right there, you're going to be mixing the Frost with that Molten Impact, and it's going to give you blast damage. So if you wanted to do that, you would want to take Shocking Touch, bring it over here, and it's going to allow you to keep your radiation damage, and Vicious Frost is just going to add in a little ice and a lot of status condition. You've also got Virulent Scourge, which is going to do the exact same but with Toxic. So once again, move the Shocking Touch over to the empty spot, put the Virulent Scourge in the very end. Healing Return, now as you see, I've already got that in there, so I can't put a second one. Lasting Sting, this would be very useful to have as well, because it's going to make your status procs last longer so they don't fade away and you're able to get those done as well. Relentless combination, and as I showed you before, the max out version, the basic version here is a plus 25%. You've got Vicious Frost, Enduring Affliction. This also does the status duration. Melee Prowess we already talked about. Virulent Scourge we already talked about. So I want to go ahead and throw either this in, or, like I said, I can move this over, throw in a little Vicious Frost, little Virulent Scourge, whatever you like, just to get that status proc up to 75.6 or 76%. So out of every 4 hits, you're going to be getting about 3 procs. And this is my build, and as you can see at the very top, right up here, I'm pointing with my hand. You guys can't see my hand. I'm sorry about that. I do have an extra 9 capacity here, and this 9 capacity will allow me to go ahead and max out Sacrificial Pressure, which is going to be, I believe it's at 11 now. So when I max it out, it's going to be at 18, which should be taking up 9. So 9 and 9 is going to take 3 each. So that's going to be 6, so I'm going to have 3 left over. I can go ahead and max out my Healing Return, and I believe that'll be at 9 as well, yeah. So actually that'll be at 8, and I'll have 1 spot left open, but everything will be maxed out. And this right here is my go-to build for my Skiajati. If I'm trying to crack a Ribbon mod, which I do have one right here, this one is going, as far as I know, is going to have to be done on Nidus, because it's the only one you really have a chance of getting above the drop ships and be able to hit the enemies before they drop down onto the ground. So if I'm going to be doing that one, I'm going to be taking off this Vicious Frost and equipping that melee mod there. So this is my Skiajati build with the Tranquil Cleave. Stand smart. We're going to go ahead and back out, and I promise you guys a couple of options. So this is configuration A on my weapon here, or on my Nidus. If I jump over to configuration B, I'm going to hit my Aura mod, throw that up there, and then the Umbral mods. Umbral Fiber, Umbral Vitality, and Umbral Intensify. Then we can go with Prime Flow. Now half of this is consumed with basically Prime mods. That's what these Umbral mods are, is they are Prime mods. That's why they take so much to level up. They just wanted Umbral Excalibur to really be even more special than he already is. That's what it amounts to, in my opinion. So I'm going to throw in basically the same mods. This is going to give me a little bit of a difference, and you'll notice what I mean. So I want to get Hunter's Adrenaline in there. Boom. I'm sitting at 17 mod capacity now. I can throw in my Streamline. It's going to be over here a little bit. Sorry, I don't mean to be going so fast with that. Kind of make people dizzy. And I've also got my Stretch. Both of these are going to be at 9. So this is something you kind of want to... You'll notice I'm down 1 mod capacity on this. So this is something that you really want to kind of figure out which one you like better. And for me, what I was able to do was take the regular flow instead of Prime Flow, throw it over here, and that opened up the extra mod capacity I needed. And it's able to make a perfect setup here, taking the exact amount of capacity and dropping my energy down from 375 to 300. That's the only thing that's really taking a hit here. You're going to get the extra strength here, which is going to allow you to do even more damage than usual, because the Umbral Intensify gets the set bonus of having the extra damage done to it, as well as the Umbral Fiber is even higher than the 720 you were going with. The health is 285 points more than what you're going with just the regular mods. Again, these are the Umbral mods. If you don't have them, you don't necessarily have to have them, because you do have this build here that is not going to be taking as much. You don't have to worry about those Umbral mods. If you haven't completed the sacrifice, maybe you are working on it and haven't completed it. Maybe you're not at a high enough mastery rank to where you can even attempt it yet. That you probably won't be running with Nidus if that's the case, but you could be. And this is just something that I wanted to present you guys with, is this quote-unquote Umbral build with these Umbral mods. Everybody's throwing these out there. This is something that I do like to use, and so I figured I'd put it out there for you guys. Until such a time as DE decides to grace us with the ability of modding for this Umbral symbol here, the one that looks kind of like a trident. Until then, we're not able to get enough out of this build to max those out. That's why they're both sitting at 2 from max, or all 3 of these are sitting at 2 from max. And yeah, that's what that's about. One thing I wanted to show you guys is when you're in this build and you notice you've got some free capacity, well, maybe right here, you can actually look down at the bottom and you can see the button marked for mods. With PlayStation 4, it's going to be square. I can hit that and it brings me up all the mods I have equipped to that arsenal individual. So whether it's your frame or your weapon or your melee, it brings you up all the mods that are attached to it. And I can go over here and say Steel Fiber, and I can go ahead and rank it up. I can't do it all the way because I don't have quite enough Indo. I'm about halfway to being able to max that one out completely on the Indo requirements. And you can do that from there. You don't have to keep bouncing back and forth between your mod station and your arsenal, see if you've got it maxed out and everything. It's just one little trick I wanted to show you guys while doing this. I did not mention it during the Titania build, which I do apologize about. Another thing with Nidus, this is special to Nidus. Whenever you come over here to the Syst room, and most of you will probably know what the Syst room is here, the Helminth room, whatever you want to call it. Nidus can go in here whether he has that Syst on his neck or not. He's also going to activate like this because he's around all of this. This infestation that's in here, and so it really triggers his ability. His armor will morph to its maxed out state, and the door will open regardless. When you go inside, you'll notice down at the bottom, Helminth is talking, which is the infestation here, and he will talk to you because she considers you his master, since you are master of the infestation. And this is the only frame that can do that. It's the only one that can enter in without that cyst on his neck. He is the only one that the Helminth will talk to. And a lot of people don't realize you can actually come over here and wait for it. Maybe it might. Oh, there they go. You can see the fish swimming through here in the water down here. And you can go over here to your personal quarters, and you can see your fish swimming over here. And you've got your mawfish, you've got your shiraks, you've got your charkeels. Whatever you decide to put into it right here. And these are the fish I have in it. I've got a medium and a small charkeel. I've got a large and a medium mawfish, small mawfish, and a large shirak. So you can see those over here, but these over here are not the fish that are in that tank over there. So don't think these tanks are interconnected. I actually did make that mistake before. But this is a mortis lungfish here, and I do not have any of them in my aquarium, so it's not the same fish. So there you go. Little bit of trivia about Nidus. Two really strong Nidus builds, and then of course my Akbolto build and Skiajati build. Then we've got the primary. Like I said, the primary is anything you want to throw in there. Archiplasma, Stilla, Daikyubo, Cerner's Bow, the Boar, Hind, Ignis, and I can go on. You can see I've got quite a few weapons that I can throw on there. And I do, depending on the situation, depending on what weapon I need to use. The Phage actually comes in really handy whenever you're having to deal with nullifiers. This will nullify the nullifier's bubble, and you can take them out really quickly without getting too close. Because if you do fall into the nullifier's bubble, you'll start losing your stacks, and as I mentioned before, the stacks are how his third and fourth ability run. It's how they operate, and you need those stacks on him so you can use them when you need to. You don't want to be losing them to something as retarded as nullifiers, because they take them pretty quickly. I believe it's 2 stacks every second that you're inside a nullifier bubble. So if you can nullify that bubble really quickly, that'll come in really handy. So the Phage comes in really handy for that. Super Vandal's really good for that as well, because it does have that high capacity output, and you can take out their bubble really quickly and go ahead and cut through the nullifier at that point without getting too close. The Lanka is the one that I've been running here recently, and my build is not quite ready with the Lanka. I'm still in the build stage. It's going to take a couple more formats for me to get it where I want it, but this is where I'm at right now with it. Serration is maxed out. It's going to give me the extra 165% damage, so it's doing a lot to bolster that base damage up. Then you've got the thermite rounds and the high voltage. This is going to be giving me the radiation proc you see down at the bottom. It's actually, the Lanka itself comes with electricity, so for me throwing the thermite rounds and the high voltage in, it's going to be washing into that electricity that already comes with it, making the radiation damage and charging that up really high. My status chance is at 86.4%. That's just something that comes along with it. I've got the split chamber here maxed out. That's giving me the multi-shot. The point shot giving me the crit chance. That's why my crit chance is up here all the way at 62.5%. This one, I do believe, like I said, I have not got this where I want it yet, but I believe this is going to be either a maxed out speed trigger, give me that rapid fire, or not really rapid fire, but a much more rapid fire than it is right now, because it does have that charge timer. I've also been playing around with the idea of maybe vigilante armaments, give myself an even more multi-shot, which is going to crank up a lot of that damage as well. I've also batted around the idea of putting in the crit damage mod to give myself even more critical damage. I've got the hammer shot here for crit damage as well, and it's also giving me status chance, which is helping me with that 86.4% status chance. Vital sense will be going on there as well. It gives me that critical damage, like I was saying, and as I get my capacity up, I'll also be ranking that up, because as you can see over here, it does take 9. Where I sit right now, I am maxed out. When I level this up to 30, I'll only have an extra 2 capacity, so I won't be able to. I will be modding for split chamber here, and by doing that, it did not help my capacity at all, so it's really not going to help either way. So I will go ahead and hit that one. That'll give me an extra 7, and when I add that in with where I'm at right now, that'll give me 9. So I can put in my maxed out vital sense and kind of play around with this. I really feel like speed trigger will help me out a lot here, help build up that
Daddy? Where are the juices that are going?
Put them in the refrigerator, baby. Go, now, go. I'm trying to do something here and you're interrupting me. But the speed trigger will help me get those shots off even more quickly than I already do with that charge timer. So this is something I really like to do here. And I really had not set up to show you anything play-wise, but I don't really feel right about going to Earth because everything's so weak there. But if I go anywhere else, it's really going to take too long for you to really enjoy it, because this video has already been fairly long. So I'm just going to run over here to the strata relay real quick. I'm going to go over to the simulacrum. I should have started off there rather than in my orbiter, but I really wanted to show you guys that little tidbit about Nidus stuff. I find little things like that really interesting. You can see my pretty little ship here. I'm just going to, rather than running, I'm going to fast travel to Cephalon Samaras here. He likes running his mouth, even though he doesn't have a mouth, and I'm just not in the mood for it. So I'm going to come over here, I'm going to spawn in some heavy gunners. Heavy gunners, max, okay. Go ahead and cut off the invincibility just so you can see what happens. Simulate, so you can see what I'm able to do here. And you can see they're already shooting at me from all the way over there. So I can hit them, one shot, one kill on these heavy gunners. These are level 20 heavy gunners. I should have changed that. Let's go ahead and do that. So, clear. Pause the AI so they won't be attacking me. Hit the heavy gunners. Let's see. I don't know why it won't let me just put in the enemy level. So if you're doing sorties, you know you have the potential of going up to level 100. So I'm going to set these at level 100. Just so we can... Max it's going to let me do is 2, and I don't understand that. It just let me do... Oh, because there was... Okay, there was still 18 of them in the simulacrum from that last loading. Yeah, you'll notice so here's Nidus. Nidus' special ability, or first ability, allows him to gather these stats. For each enemy you hit with the virulence here, you get 1 point. You can kind of see where his rifle's pointing. You get 1 little point of that. Each time that fills up, you get a stack, and it keeps going up. If you're able to get the target right, you can actually hit all of them with 1 virulence. Now I'm at 3. Now I'm at 4. You can see the ones that were getting hit with the Lanka, they've taken quite a bit of damage. That one not so much. And these have been taking little to no damage from my virulence. But I do have the ability to hit him with the larva. The larva also runs off of energy. And he's able to do that. It bundles them up into a nice little pretty package, and you can continue hitting them with virulence to get your stack built up pretty well. The next one is going to be your parasitic link. Any damage you take while this is connected to your enemy, any damage you take is automatically transferred over to him. When it's connected to an ally, you and your ally both deal increased amount of damage. So this is incredibly useful. And I can do a stealth attack. And that stealth attack did just not wipe him out, so there's that. You can always... Oh, apparently my larva is under the platform here. Which is okay, because I'm trying to build up my stacks. I'll leave them alone for now. You'll notice when I get a certain distance away, that parasitic link breaks. That's what I was talking about earlier. And you've got these 6 here. I'm going to go ahead and hit my Ravage. Now with Ravage, it costs you 3 stacks to create it. And for each enemy caught in the stack, or in the Ravage here, whenever you activate it, we'll go ahead and boost up your stack counter over there. And you're almost able to kill these guys in one hit with that stealth attack. That's one of the guys I run a lot with. He's helped me a lot whenever I first started off in this game, and we still run together now, months later. So, and you can see my stat counter just going nuts over there. You'll also notice my armor. So I'm gonna basically just point it at him, spawn my larva. They're all gonna get bundled up together, nice and pretty. And I'm gonna hit him with virulence just until that's gone. Hit him with the Ravage. Now I'm gonna pull out my Akboltos. This is one of the reasons I really love them. You can sit here and just crank out these quills. When they die, it will pin them to a wall, just like the Boltor, just like a bow. But you'll also notice, if you look underneath the symbol that shows my stacks, you'll see my ammo count. Oh, excuse me. You'll see he's pinned to the wall. But you'll see the ammo counter, and you'll see the little arbiter sign. Every syndicate weapon, that's the word I was looking for, will give you those. And as you're doing this damage, those little symbols will fill up, and once they get max, it'll send off a little pulse that's going to it's going to do a lot of health regen for you, which is really useful for Nidus, since you do need that health to come back constantly. And that adds to the survivability. And you can take these guys out pretty quick. So you want to shoot one bullet? You shoot one bullet. It does 78 puncture damage. 78 puncture damage. You're also getting the viral proc. And if you got a fast enough trigger finger, you can, spray those. But yeah, he's not the greatest against heavy armor, as I was saying. You do need something to strip the armor. I don't know why my cat is not. That's what she is here for, is to strip that armor. You'll notice my combo counter going up as I'm hitting these things over and over again. So the more consecutive hits you get with this Lanka, in rapid succession I might add, the more you're going to be able to keep that combo counter up and not wipe these guys out rather quickly. And you'll see the little red circle there charging up. That was the charge attack I was talking about. That will allow the speed trigger will make that circle fill up a lot quicker and allow you to fire off those rounds a lot quicker as well. What I'm trying to do here, I really want to eliminate these stacks. Don't know if this will do it or not. Nope, he's still got the 35 stacks. Sadly, the procs don't, or the Ravenous does not include any special procs of its own, because that would that would really help him out a lot. As they die, your larva will of course spit them out. They're useless to it now. It's not able to feed off of them. And you'll notice my stacks are now at 48 from all those ones that died just a second ago. Once my Ravenous goes away over here, you'll notice it just jumps from 48 to 52. So you'll also notice his armor. Whenever I was running around earlier, his armor was completely closed up. When you get 5 stacks, it opens up a little bit. When you get, I believe it's 8 stacks, it opens up even more. Once you hit 15, it's fully open like this. Just like when we went into the helmet room on our orbiter. They're kind of glitching out here. I don't know what's going on with them. There is a augment mod you can get for Nidus right now, that when you cast that larva and it gets to max capacity, you can hit it with a second cast and it will cause the larva to explode, doing a lot of damage to your enemies that are trapped within the larva itself. So that's something else you might consider throwing in if you want a little bit of versatility. Maybe that's an option you might consider as well. But as for now, this is my Nidus build, this is my Jinxie Cat, and this is us here at g.i.b Gaming. And always remember to please like, share, and if you haven't already, subscribe. Go ahead and hit that little bell right next to the subscribe button. It'll let you know anytime we crank out any new videos for whatever it is we're doing videos for on that day. And here at g.i.b Gaming, remember, we all rise stronger than ever.